Hi, this little lecture video is going to be on the methods of development. Methods of development is a general term by which we mean what are ways that you can organize paragraphs or entire essays, and that organizing method will help you keep on track with the paper and make it easier to understand for the reader. There are several methods of development that are commonly used, so that's what we'll review here. Narration is one of the most obvious. That's where you tell a story. Normally the point of your narration is that something was learned or discovered, and your subpoints leading up to that are steps in the process where you kept discovering the same thing over and over. A story like that can be very clear in making the point that something new was learned during the event. So narration is a story. Reflection, similar to narration, is when you look back on something that happened and realize that that caused a change or was important in making a change. And again, it would have key moments in this sequence of events that led up to this change. That's a reflection paper. And the thesis would be that there was this change. Description is usually about a dominant impression of something kind of complicated, and the subpoints are different elements that show this same dominant impression. For example, you could say this experience, this place was very scary, and then each of the subpoints that you would use would clarify different ways in which it was scary. Cause or effect are two different sorts of paper. One is where you talk about several things that caused a certain effect, or you can talk about a certain thing that happened and then several effects that resulted from that. So it's either the things that led up to something, or something happened and then the things that happened as a result. So that would be a cause or an effect paper. Usually you're trying to say that the result wasn't obvious or that the cause wasn't obvious. So you're explaining, here's what the cause actually was, and these are the effects, or here's what the effect actually was, and these were the causes. Process papers where you describe something that happens by following a certain procedure. And the thesis usually is, if you follow this specific procedure, you get this specific unique goal. And then the subpoints are the steps in the process that you need to get to that goal. Compare or contrast are where you take two different things and you either talk about what's similar, that's comparison, or what's different, that's contrast. You can do this point by point or subject by subject. In other words, if you're comparing and contrasting two trucks, you could talk everything about truck 1 and then everything about truck 2. Or you could talk about something about truck 1 and truck 2, and then something about truck 1 and truck 2, and something about truck 1 and truck 2. So there's different ways to organize these, but the net result is that by comparing or contrasting these items, you can see some overall truth that applies to both of the items. Classification is where you divide things into subgroups. For example, if you divided up the student body at the college into people who have just graduated from high school, people who graduated from high school a few years ago, and then people who graduated quite some time ago and are going back to school for some reason. So your thesis would be that by dividing up these groups, we can see something important about the whole group, including all the subgroups. Division is similar. That's where you take a big or one item and you divide it into parts. Again, you're looking to find some point that you can make by dividing up into the parts. For example, you can divide up a computer into the CPU and the screen and the keyboard and the mouse. What do you learn by making that division? And definition is when you take a vague or an unknown word and you define it carefully. A vague word would be something like love or logic. Thank you.